yet because she's not 5 years old. A bald eagle has to have a white head and a white tail before they become 5 years old. You know, they have to be 5 years old before they get the white head and white tail. This is a female. She's larger than the male. She's going to have about a 7.5-foot wingspan. Now the reason that we have her was when she hatched out, she had a problem with the wing. It's a congenital problem. She'll never be able to fly. So rather than to euthanize her, we decided that we would just make her an educational bird for us. So we take her around and we use her at all the different schools and scout groups and churches and FFA and wherever people call and want us to do a program while we bring her around, and that way people can see eagles up close. The reason we do this is because people still shoot bald eagles. I've got one at home right now that's got a hole in the wing about the size of a silver dollar where somebody shot it. I don't know why, and it has the white head and the white tail. Fortunately, I think this one's going to go back into the wild. The wing seems to be healing. Now, a little bit about our bald eagles. It's our national bird. We have one of the larger populations down here in Missouri. In the winter, we have the second largest wintering population. Now, bald eagles, as I said, don't choose a mate. They don't get the white head, the white tail, and the yellow beak until they're 5 years old. At that time, they choose a mate, and they build a nest. Now, the first year, they do what we call play house. They don't lay eggs, but they do build their nest and stay around during the period of time that they would normally be nesting. Now, I'm letting her keep her hood on for a little bit so she kind of gets calm and gets used to some of the sounds. In a classroom, she doesn't have people moving around, and she doesn't have some of the noises that she's hearing tonight. So we're going to kind of let her get a little bit accustomed to that before we take the hood off. They do mate for life. As long as the two are alive, they will return to the same nest year after year. If one of them dies or gets killed, then the one that's left will choose another mate at that time. But as long as both of them are alive and able to get back to that nest every year, and that's about January when they come back, they will rebuild or remodel that nest. They will go out and they'll break off sticks, and they'll put all these sticks all around in there, and then they'll line it with mud and moss and grass and leaves till they get it just the way they want it. The nest can be as much as 11 feet across and 6 foot deep. They'll keep adding to it. Now, if the tree gives away, then they have to start over again. But as long as that nest and that tree is still standing, they'll come back and remodel it. Now, she'll lay about 3 eggs every year. 1 egg, and then a couple of days later, another egg, and a couple of days later, another egg. Well, they hatch out the same way. One day, one will hatch out. 2 days later, another one. Now, they grow very, very fast. So number 1 is already twice as big as number 2 when he hatches out. And number 3, so on. Now, as long as mom can go home and bring home the groceries, they've got plenty to eat, they're going to do just fine. If she gets to where she feeds 1, 2, and 3, and one's still hungry and she doesn't have anything else to feed him, we have what we call Cain-Abel fights. We have what we call Cain-Abel fights. She's used to my voice, and this microphone's kind of throwing her off again. They will have Cain-Abel fights, and the smallest one will be pecked on and eventually shoved over the side. Now that sounds cruel, but this is Mother Nature's way, so that at least 2 of them will survive. And that's as long as she's got enough groceries for 2. Now, if she doesn't have enough food to feed the 2, the biggest one will push number 2 over the side. And those are, like I said, are called Cain-Abel fights. And again, it sounds cruel. However, this way we've ensured at least 1 will go out into the wild. About 14 weeks from the time the egg hatches till the bird is beginning to fly, they will fledge. And they'll follow her mom and dad around for a little while until they learn how to catch on and how to catch their own fish. Now, their diet consists of fish, ducks, geese, squirrels, rabbits, and roadkill, dead animals. They feed on those. A lot of people have said to me, well, how do you feed an eagle? Because they won't eat anything that's dead. No, that's not true. They eat dead animals. A couple years ago, I had a calf born dead. And when I went out to get it to bury it, there was a big bald eagle sitting on that calf then. I've seen bald eagles sitting on roadkill raccoons and things. So they're very opportunistic. They have about a 7.5-foot wingspan in this area. Up north up in Alaska, they get up to 8 feet. The male, now she'll have about a 7.5-foot, but the male will only have about a 7-foot wingspan. And they did some tests to figure out why in the world this was the way this was. What we found out was the extra weight of the eggs. That eagle, that female, has to be exactly that much larger to be able to carry that extra weight of the eggs. And so this is what you'll find in your bird of prey. A lot of times they all look just alike, the male and the female, except for the male will be the smaller of the two. And that's how you can tell the difference. As far as color, they look the same. Now when this bird hatched out last year, and she's a year old this last spring, she was dark, and a lot of people will mistake those for a golden eagle. And it's not a golden eagle, this is an immature bald eagle. Now this year, you'll notice she's got quite a bit more white in her. Next year, she'll have a little bit more white, but she has to be 5 years old before the beak will turn yellow and she'll get the white head and white tail. They're found all the way from down in Florida, and down in Florida, they're a little bit smaller eagles down there. We're about the mid-range here, and like I said, in Alaska, they're even larger. And they have to be a little bit larger to be able to handle the cold weather and to be able to work the weather and things like that. Now, they are a predator, and I know a lot of people have a problem with predators. But what a lot of people don't understand, if you get to studying how things are, if without our predators, you probably wouldn't have any prey animals. Your predators are what take care of the sick and the injured. Take for instance, now this is not a talk against hunting and fishing. And by the way, I have to have a federal license. I have to have 2 federal licenses and a state license to be able to keep this bird and to handle it and to take care of the animals that you see in the pictures. My wife and I have been doing this since 1969. We've been caring for them, and just recently we went non-for-profit to be able to help us. We get in a little over 200 animals a year. So what I wanted to say is, this is not a talk against hunting and fishing. I like to hunt and fish just like anybody else. But what we have to understand is, if we go out, I know there's some hunters and other people will say, if we killed off all the predators, we'd have a lot more prey animals. And you're absolutely right, you would have for a short time. But if you don't have the predators, which prey on the weak, the sick, the injured, and those, then you're going to have that just running everywhere. Now, man is not a very good predator. If you go out and you see a 14-point buck, and then you see this little old mangy one over here, he's got one little spike, which one are you going to shoot? You're going to shoot the 14-point buck. What are you leaving for your breeding stock? This little bitty mangy guy. So again, I'm not against hunters, but you have to understand, we have to have the predators to do what we don't do. And so by keeping our predators around, they keep the balance right, you know, the numbers are right, and you've got much better animals. Up north, we killed off all the predators of the deer because they wanted more deer, and they did. They got a lot more deer, and they were able to go out and shoot 2 or 3 deer a day. The problem was all of a sudden their deer were small, they were not muscled up, they were skinny, a lot of them were sick, you know, things like that. So they got to thinking, you know, this is not working out. Nobody gets a trophy anymore. Yeah, you can go get 2 or 3 deer a day, but you're not getting any trophies. Well, what they did was they brought the wolves back in. The number of deers did go down, but now the guys are shooting trophies, and when they get theirs, they're healthy and everything, because you've taken out the weak and the injured and the sick. So we're very, very much in need of predators, no matter what. Now, what I'm going to do is take her hood off, and if you all have any questions, I'll try to answer. Don't get too close, because she'll probably try to fly here in a minute, and I have to keep her back. you go. Now she's probably going to try to fly here in a minute. She's got to check it out and see if she can.
Pretty big.
This is all new to her. She's used to being in a quiet place. And there's a lot of people moving around, a lot of different noises that she's never heard before. Stately looking bird, isn't she? Yeah. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
As she gets older, will she always continue to try to fly, or will she ever realize?
Oh yeah, she's always got to check it out to see if she's really tethered or not. Yeah, and that's called baiting. They will do what we call bait. She's getting ready to here in a second. She's kind of looking, where is it I can go?
She does not fly.
No. No, she tries, but she can't really fly because her wing over here will not stretch all the way out. She's got a congenital problem where the tendons are too short. When she tries to use it, she goes like this. And some of you see a little blood, and that's where she skinned her knuckle. This is her wrist up here. Down here is her finger. That's a good thing. That's a good. Usually I have to hood her to get her to stand up. Maybe she'll stay up here for a little bit. And then again, maybe not. Okay, as she gets older, she'll change colors each year. She'll have a little different coloration. What was your question again before she flew there?
No, I just wanted to know if she would ever realize I don't fly.
No, she'll do this every so often just to see, okay, can I fly, you know, and okay, now I can't, so I'll sit for a few more minutes, and then later on she'll try. Now, as we do this more and more, she'll get to where, okay, there's no use. She'll still try it once or twice, but she'll sit longer each time before she tries to fly. And even with that one wing not working, she's pretty stout, hanging on to her. And if y'all notice the talons, this is why they can grab. Now, the difference on this eagle, she'll sit tight. There's eagles and there's ospreys. If an eagle hits the water, she has to swim to shore, stand out for 2 or 3 days, and she'll stand there like this trying to dry her feathers. If you see an eagle like this around a lake, just observe her, because once she dries out, she'll be able to fly. They have a lot of down underneath. And if that gets wet, they're too heavy and they can't fly, and they know that. And that's why they will stand. They can't fly. Now an osprey is a different type of bird, about the size of an eagle. He will dive under the water, come out, fly up, and take off, and he'll shake the water off, and then he'll go on. Those birds don't have down under, and they don't winter here. They winter cool. Just a second. They live to be about 25 years old in the wild. In captivity, she'll live to be about 50 years old.
Will they they still reproduce up to 25 years? Or
Up until they die, yeah.
reproduce all the way up?
Yeah, they'll reproduce up until they're no longer alive.
How old is she?
She was a year old this last spring. So she's got another 3.5 years before she'll get the big yellow beak and the white head and the white tail.
That's crazy.
But she's going to be used for educational purposes, and maybe we can help people understand some of God's creation so that they don't go around shooting them. And again, this is not against hunting and fishing. I like to hunt and fish just like anyone else. I just don't like to shoot something that you're not going to use. That I'm against. Yes. What people don't realize that it's against the law to shoot a bald eagle, but they're all covered under the same law. Bald eagles, ospreys, hawks, owls, falcons. Believe it or not, even vultures are considered birds of prey. And I think it's somewhere around 10 years in prison, $20,000 fine for the max on that if they want to throw it at you. Now, if you see someone taking aim or shooting at an eagle or something, don't try to stop them. But if you can get an identification or something like that so that you can tell the authorities, that would help. We just need to stop people from, killing things they're not going to use. You're not going to eat it, not going to use it in any way. Why kill it? Any other questions? I'll be glad to. I'm here till 8 o'clock. If you have any questions, fire them away.